For the last couple of years, Tesla has been slowly driving down the price of their vehicles as their manufacturing and battery efficiency improves. Recently, they even unveiled their plans to have a $25,000 EV rolling out in a few years. Despite this, Tesla only plans on selling consumer cars for another 5 to 10 years before stepping out, and here's why. Starting off, Elon Musk believes that the value of full self-driving is worth a lot more than the $10,000 they are charging for the development version today. In fact, Musk believes that full autonomy software with regulatory approval will cost well over $100,000. But why the drastic price increase? Tesla has already made great strides towards full self-driving, and they are no doubt in the tail end of development today. So it's unlikely to cost them over 9 times more to finish development. Now, of course, regulatory approval and a refined product themselves hold value. But those don't add 9 times value for the average customer. With that being said, this price increase has less to do with recouping development costs and more to do with accounting for opportunity cost. Sure, the average customer likely won't get an extra $90,000 in value once full self-driving is finished and approved. But Tesla and business owners will. After receiving regulatory approval, Tesla plans on rolling out the robotaxi service, which, as the name suggests, is just taxis that drive themselves. And though very simple in theory, unlike Uber and Lyft, Tesla's robotaxi business will likely be very profitable, as they don't have to pay for a driver. In fact, a few years ago, Elon Musk announced that they expect each robotaxi to pull in a gross profit of $30,000 per year, driving 90,000 miles annually. Considering that they expect their cars to last 1 million miles, this roughly gives them 10 years to profit from each robotaxi. In that decade, they can expect about $300,000 in gross profit from each robotaxi. As you can see, selling this opportunity through a $30,000 to $50,000 car makes no sense. Instead of selling the car to you, they can add it to their robotaxi network and make back that money in less than 2 years. Aside from this, though full self-driving may not be worth anywhere near $100,000 for the average person, for several businesses, this price is a steal. For instance, $100,000 is not bad for retail chains like Walmart and Sam's Club, and logistics companies like UPS and FedEx. For them, full self-driving only costs a few years of driver salary, but provides several years of driver value. Not to mention, they don't have to deal with their drivers having to sleep or eat or perform any other bodily functions. Aside from charging, these vehicles can just keep going. Considering this long-term vision, why is Tesla even bothering with a budget car? Previously, reducing prices could be explained by getting their cars to more customers and collecting more data in order to better develop full self-driving technology. But today, Tesla has already gathered billions of miles of data. In fact, they reached 3 billion self-driven miles way back in April, and they're currently growing at billions of miles per year. As a result, the budget car is not intended to really accelerate full self-driving development or anything like that. There are 2 main reasons that Tesla is going ahead with the super budget car, the first of which being proof of concept. Tesla's mission is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy, and consequently, proving that a practical budget EV is possible to mass produce is very important in pushing forward said transition. By successfully producing such a car, Tesla would be showing other car manufacturers like GM, Toyota, and Honda that it is not only possible, but that there is more than enough demand for such a vehicle. Aside from proof of concept, the second major goal with the budget EV is increasing production. In order to really make a dent in the market using robotaxis, Tesla will have to produce millions of cars per year, and scaling up to such numbers privately is extremely difficult. Though robotaxis will be very profitable, that's over several years. Initially, Tesla will have to front the cost of all of the cars they produce. Currently, Tesla's gross profit margin on their cars is 27.7%. Elon Musk has made it his goal to make this number 30%. And looking at the trend over the past few quarters, it does seem like they'll succeed in accomplishing this goal. But we do have to keep something in mind. This overall gross profit margin for their vehicles is boosted by the sale of their high-margin vehicles like the Model S and Model X. Though these models only account for a small portion of their sales, it likely accounts for a much larger portion of their profits. As a result, it's unlikely that Tesla's overall gross profit margin will carry over to their budget model as well. But we'll give them the benefit of the doubt to really illustrate how expensive deploying robotaxis will be. Even if Tesla is able to carry over a 30% gross profit margin onto their budget $25,000 car, each car will cost them $17,500 to manufacture. To deploy just 1 million robotaxis, which is a very small amount in the grand scheme of things, Tesla will have to invest $17.5 billion. Considering this, Tesla will have to front tens of billions of dollars, if not hundreds of billions of dollars, to get the robotaxi network actually up and running. With that being said, they would prefer to reduce as many costs elsewhere as possible. One of these costs is of course building factories and improving efficiency of said factories. Each gigafactory cost Tesla roughly $5 billion to build, with the Berlin gigafactory coming in at 4 billion euros and the Shanghai gigafactory coming in at $5 billion. Let's say that the funding of 4 gigafactories is already complete. The Fremont factory, Giga Shanghai, and the upcoming factories in Berlin and Austin. If each of these factories can produce 500,000 vehicles per year as they suggest, those factories together give us 2 million vehicles per year. To really make an impact in the market, Tesla will likely want to scale up to 10 million cars per year, which is how much Toyota and Volkswagen each produce annually. In order to get such numbers, Tesla will have to increase their production capability by another 8 million, or add another 16 gigafactories. At $5 billion a factory, that's another 80 billion in upfront costs. As you can see, that's a very hefty bill, and a perfect way to subsidize it is by selling budget cars that appeal to a wide audience. So, the purpose of the $25,000 car is to 1. Prove concept and demand, and 2. Scale up manufacturing capability and improve efficiency. On top of this, the budget car may be a perfect candidate to be used in the robotaxi network, and continuing to sell it while building the network may turn out to be a great revenue source to actually fund the robotaxi network. So that's why Tesla plans to stop selling cars, but is still going ahead with the budget model anyways. But really, when can we actually expect this transition to take place? Well, Tesla may go ahead and launch a few 100,000 robotaxis or even a few million robotaxis within a few years after receiving regulatory approval. However, their move away from actually selling consumer cars likely won't happen until they reach full scale, or about 10 million cars plus per year. Right now, they're building roughly 2 gigafactories per year, and this is expected to scale up to 3 or 4, but to be conservative, we'll say that they only add 2 factories per year. At that rate, Tesla should reach a total of 20 gigafactories in 2028 or 2029, or basically by the end of the decade. And that also gives us plenty of time to actually finish development of full self-driving and get approval. So we may see the transition begin in about 2030. Once the transition begins, we'll say that all of the gross profits they receive from selling their cars goes into the robotaxi network. To be conservative once again, we'll say that the average selling price of Tesla's cars is $30,000, as sales will likely skew towards the budget model as we move forward. With a 30% gross profit margin, that means that Tesla will be able to fund 1 robotaxi car for every 2.33 cars they sell. In other words, when producing 10 million cars per year, Tesla can afford to have up to 3 million of these cars be robotaxis. In the second year, however, with 3 million robotaxis bringing in gross profit of $30,000 per year each, Tesla will enjoy a massive gross profit of $90 billion, or enough to fund 4.2 million more robotaxis annually. If Tesla was super aggressive with this transition, they can likely afford to complete it within 3 years. But assuming they opt for a more smooth transition, 3 to 5 years seems more reasonable. So maybe around 2033 to 2035. If Tesla is able to get approval and scale up earlier, this may be as early as 2028 to 2030. But the more likely case is in the 2030s. Anyways, after this transition, Tesla will be able to exponentially raise their profits. Prior to the transition, selling 10 million cars with 30% gross profit would have led to a one-time profit of $90 billion. Injecting 10 million cars into the robotaxi market, however, is projected to come out to $300 billion in profit annually for the next decade. Clearly, it's no wonder why Tesla would prefer the latter. But in the meantime, there's still quite a bit of time left to buy a Tesla. Will you guys be buying a Tesla before they start this transition? Comment that down below. Also, drop a like if the latest beta release gives you hope that autonomy will come sooner rather than later. And of course, consider joining our Discord community to suggest future video ideas, and consider subscribing to see more questions logically answered. But until then, I'm Hari, and I'll see you guys on the next one.